Hey there, Curvis. Welcome to episode number 68 of the Curve the Cube podcast. I'm your host, Jemmy, Flintstone Media, and I'm so excited to tell you about today's guest. His name is Chris Goog, and I just was so honored and privileged to sit down and talk with him. He's America's premier underwater photographer. He's been pursuing his passion since he was 15 years old, and the story of how he got started is enough to give any poor mother a heart attack, but he's been one to never shy away from what he really wanted to do in life, and it's extremely inspirational podcast. And so he talks about how he plans and then conquers his shots, and some mistakes that he's made along the way that he's learned from, the secret to how he gets such vivid color in his photos, because they're vibrant. They're absolutely beautiful and vibrant. I mean, go to googunderwater.com. It's spelled like G-U-G, but so GUGunderwater.com, and check out his images, and you will be absolutely floored. It's just so much beauty. I had to talk to him. I thought his stuff was just spectacular. I ran into him at a fine art festival in Delray and just floated into his into his booth, just completely mesmerized. It's just so wonderful, and he does all kinds of shots, mostly underwater stuff, and almost exclusively, I should say. And he has some really unique images involving a pig and an elephant, and we get into that too. He's just so talented. It's really incredible, and he gets to travel the world and pursue his passion and his dream and live his life the way he wants. And it's really inspirational. He debunks a lot of myths that we all have from movies like Jaws, or really terrible sci-fi movies like the Piranha movies and stuff that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. He debunks a lot of myths out there, and we get into a lot of discussion on conservatism and animal rights and just his experiences with animals in the water and what he's learned about who they really truly are. And it's really great conversation. There's a lot of hashtag science throughout this podcast, and I had a great time. So anybody I can geek out with a little bit is definitely my new best friend. He's smart, he's charming, he's funny and genuine, and made my job as a host just super easy. And I had the greatest time talking to him, and I think you'll have the greatest time listening. So thank you. And this episode is brought to you by the Pizza Girls, who I absolutely adore, Jen and Phoebe. They were my guests back on episode 17, so shout out to them for supporting me in my early days. And the Pizza Girls shop is the West Palm Beach top spot for authentic New York pizza. Basically, they're located where Clematis meets Flagler. So next time you're in West Palm, go in there and have a slice and tell them that you heard about them on the podcast, and they'll give you 10% off, because that is awesome. And they are awesome. And they're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So look them up, the Pizza Girls, and you will and go get a bite of pizza, and it's really good. And Goog Underwater for anything Chris Goog on all of the social media interwebs. He is Goog Underwater. And I am Curve the Cube on also all those social media interwebs. And thank you to DJ Don Hitta for this music bed as always. And with that, I will shut up and say sit back and relax for this, the 68th episode of the Curve the Cube podcast with underwater photographer extraordinaire, Chris Goog. Enjoy.
Curve the Cube will now initiate.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
Awesome.
Good,
Jenny,
good.
This is Suzanne.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi.
This is awesome. Look at all your stuff.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Do you want to take a 30-second tour, or do you want
I'd
to just jump
love
right into it?
I'd love to take a tour.
First off, do you know how to pronounce your name right? Gemma?
Jemmy.
Jemmy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, Jemmy. Like to
sorry.
think Jenny with M's.
Jemmy.
Yeah, please,
Awesome.
like you're the first. Come on.
Yeah.
Wow, this is spectacular. I recognize some of them from your website and from my visit, the art festival. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, take me on a tour.
All right. So we actually took over what used to be a mayor's jewelry store.
Okay.
Hence the lines on the carpet that show where jewelry
right.
pieces used to be, and hence lighting fixtures that are perfect for a jewelry store.
Exactly.
But maybe a little non-traditional for an art
A
gallery.
little non-traditional, but it works actually.
We've modified a few things, but right now, before we put in a $60,000 lighting system, the modifications work a lot better.
It works great.
So we show off a few different collections, like all the ones on this wall over here are what we call the Fish Faces collection, which are animal portraits, as opposed to the real scenic-y type shots, which are in our limited editions collection and some of the other collections.
Okay.
And so it came with all these glass cases, and we weren't quite sure what to do. Again, we could demolish the whole thing, or we could just make do with what we've got.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, so a couple little seashells from Lauderdale by the Sea.
There you go.
Like that. And then, we have a big feature wall to show how big we can do pieces.
Yeah,
Should people
very
have
smart.
monstrous size homes, or more likely corporate installations, which is more common for pieces of 200, 250 inches, stuff like that.
So I want to immediately point out that one thing I absolutely love is the names of your pieces. I think are super clever, and I'm noticing this one here is called Fantasia, and I love Fantasia, and I love that because it's what are they? What
sea
are
fans.
They? Yeah, sea fans. It's perfect.
Also known as gorgonians or fan corals, or common names in animals are kind of the worst way to go. But it's how we all know them.
Right.
And if we're not going to be scientists,
Right.
then it's kind of the only way we're going to do it.
True.
So.
True. Looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Then the collection on the back wall over there is what we call the Ocean Essence series. There's about 50...
Also known as Instagram on a wall, because they're all
Pretty much.
square.
So this is there's about 60 images in the collection, and they're all abstract textures. Most people will never have any clue what they're looking at.
But they are.
And that's the idea.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, I really knew I wanted to talk to you about what you do, because not only is it super impressive,
Thanks.
but also very unique. I mean, people do take pictures underwater, but you bring things to life for everybody else to see. And I was floored when, my little son and I were walking by your booth. I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is incredible. Then I found out you're local. I'm like, yes, this is great. How long have you been doing this?
I've been a full-time professional underwater photographer since I was 15.
Oh my gosh.
All I've ever done.
Oh my god.
Or you could translate that as I suck at everything else.
Everything else. well, as long as you find your niche and it works for you, don't worry about the everything else. And I think you've definitely found your niche. How did this get started?
Well, the art gallery in specific, or the career path as an underwater photographer?
As an underwater photographer and finding your passion and going with it.
Well, so it started when I was a little tiny kid, way before I could afford to go diving with a camera. So it was a challenge. I started saving up my money during my little illegal age high school job. There was a dry cleaners that I worked at. I figured if they were employing all illegal aliens anyway, they wouldn't mind an underaged illegal worker.
There you go. There you go.
I was saving, and when I was 15, I finally had enough cash saved up to get my first set of scuba gear, my open water certification, and my first underwater camera that I bought before I was even certified.
Wow, so you really knew.
Seems backwards.
No,
But
no one's judging. No one's judging.
a couple months later, found myself in the Bahamas, and my mom threatening to kill me for leaving the country
And
without
how
permission.
old were you?
About 15.
Yeah, I would have killed you too.
Remember back then you only needed a raised birth certificate to leave the country instead of a passport to certain countries, like the Bahamas.
Right, that's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine the heart attacks your mother was having at the time.
She raised no normal babies.
You survived. So when you, so did you never even crossed your mind to photograph above the water? It was always under the water. That was what you really wanted to do.
Are you saying they make above water cameras now?
I hear they do have that. It's
You
a
can
newer
do that?
invention. I
High-tech
think
stuff.
Polaroid has started that.
High tech. No, I mean I do supporting photos that are above water as well, but my heart's not in it.
Yeah.
My passion isn't there.
Yeah.
So, back when I used to photograph for magazines and stock photography and tourism boards and stuff like that, I would have to take supporting photos that are above water.
Right, right.
But they just felt like everybody else's photos.
Yeah.
They didn't have my spirit in them.
Yeah.
There was no chutzpah.
There's
I don't
no
know.
goob.
Where's
the goob?
Well said. There was none of that in the photos, and I couldn't get my heart into it.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing continues today. Like, sure, we travel to some amazing locations, and Suzanne's always saying, "Take a picture of it. Take a picture of it." And I'm like,
Do I have to?
get my phone out.
It's a building,
click,
and it's
click.
above the water.
Click, snap, snap. Happy snaps.
Happy snaps. Well, I'm glad
That's what
that
I
you're
call them, happy
snaps.
snaps.
They're done to satisfy maybe others, but maybe not quite yourself. Yeah.
They're good for her personal Facebook
We're
page.
Well, that's very kind of you.
What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with
Yeah.
an above water photo?
So, what is it about this that you love so much? What can you?
I don't think you can quantify
Yeah.
or understand love. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
When people say, what is it that you, or how'd you get started, or why do you love this so much? I always answer it the same way. I say it's like when you're in that bar and your eyes meet across the room with that special someone, and you just know. Love is
that
love.
really good piece of chocolate cake.
I was thinking about another person, but okay, chocolate cake.
Hey, we all have our passions.
So no, I can't really explain why I've always been drawn to it.
Yeah.
And why I want to create awesome, beautifulnessosity underwater. But
Awesome beautifulnessosity. That is
yes,
amazing.
It's a technical term.
I love it. Totally. Careful, Polaroid might claim that too.
But it just is, and I feel right when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I hope everybody has some passion that they're equally as excited about. I sometimes feel a lot of people haven't found that thing yet.
Yeah.
And I hope they do. I mean,
Well, that's the whole purpose of my podcast, is to try to expose people to things that may not be obvious, that you never know what's going to hit them,
not to get all patriotic or anything, but it's like, isn't that what America is supposed to
Yeah,
be all about?
absolutely.
Giving you the choices and freedoms to discover what you want to do out of your life. Isn't that?
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not really big into social conversations or social science or politics or anything, but
it's okay. Today's voting day. It's okay.
Okay, well then I can say this then. Like, if you're not out there doing exactly what it is you want to do in life, isn't that like a slap in the face to every veteran who's ever fought for our country in a war?
It's tough. I hear you. It's tough to figure out how to do it sometimes, and so, and a lot of people are daunted by just the unknown, and it can be scary. And so I'm hoping that conversations like this with people like you who've walked those shoes, or flippers, so I'm the flippers, whatever, could be a great example for people to understand that it can be done. You can follow your passion.
It's the scariest things in life that are by far the coolest and the most worth doing.
Yeah.
No matter what we're scared of, that's exactly what we should go out and do tomorrow.
Yeah. So you have to keep up with like your dive certifications and all that stuff in order to get done what you love to do. Do you feel like, because when I look at your photography, I feel transported into another world. I mean, I know especially living in Florida, it's not that far away, but it feels otherworldly. Does that feel like that when you're actually under the water taking these pictures?
Because I've been doing it my entire life, it's second nature and very comfortable for me. But I like to think that it transports people to another place and to an alien world, even though it's so not alien. It's part of our own planet. It's the most awesome part of our planet that we should all be
the least explored. And
it is.
And so you're looking at things and you're saying that on this wall in particular, like people wouldn't be able to figure out what these close images are. What did you call it, your texture?
The Ocean Essence series.
Ocean Essence series. And it's true because a lot of us just haven't seen it, One of the things I love so much about what you do is the color that you're able to capture for the rest of us. And life is so vivid under the water. What has been the most, is there something that still surprises you even after all these years?
While you're addressing the vivid point, I think there's a really important distinction to make in the world of underwater, is that while we're snorkeling or scuba diving, we see a lot of overwhelming blue and gray, especially once we get down 20, 30, 40 feet, and there's an important qualifier in the underwater photography that I do. it's all done with flash. So what I'm doing is my flash units are color spectrum balanced to the daylight color spectrum.
Okay.
Which means the colors that you're seeing in my photos are the colors that you would see if you brought that subject matter up
Out of
above
the
water and looked at it under normal daylight, but your eyes won't see that because if you think back to high school physics class, remember the Rainbow Man, Roy G. Biv?
Everything gets refracted, or is that the
Red,
word?
orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet, Roy G. Biv, or green, blue, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. We got it.
You know the Rainbow Man.
That dude with the letters, yeah.
And so that means after you get down 15, 20 feet, there's no more reds.
Right.
After you're down 45 feet or so, it's all blue and gray until my flash fires and brings back those colors.
Because now the light source is under the water.
Yes. So if you look at a lot of photos that have distance to my photos, what you'll see is the things that are really close to the lens are really colorful. And the things 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet away are blue and gray, again, because the water column has absorbed all the reds and yellows out of my shots.
Yeah. That's awesome. Science!
So I don't know if that
Hashtag
distracted
science.
from your actual question.
No.
Sorry, but
No. It perfectly answers it, I think. If you want, we can.
it's up to you.
Yeah, totally.
I'm happy to stand for the old.
Yeah, we can sit. No, totally.
I got these icy things.
Oh, well, they look super comfy. Let's do this. Let's sit on the couch.
Sure.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Is there anything that's at all intimidating? Because, so I'm thinking, okay, so fun fact about me, I have a bad lung. So as much as I would love to go scuba diving in something, there's a part of me that's a little terrified at it because I get scared that the pressures would affect me or something like that. I know there are people who feel claustrophobic under the water, you know. So clearly you don't have those issues. Just guessing.
Nope.
Nope, not at all.
I think being a wildlife photographer of any kind, fear is just one of those things that you have to obviously have a healthy respect for all of the things that are around you and the things that could potentially kill you. But then you look at
that little
the
detail.
reality of it, and if you go by statistics and the numbers, and you quickly realize that scuba diving is actually one of the safest sports anywhere. Actually, if you look at the real numbers, more people die doing bowling than scuba diving.
Stop it, no way.
Yes, these are
No
real
way.
numbers.
Okay,
More
now I'm
people
just
are
racing
killed-
in my mind with bowling injuries.
More people are killed by vending machines than by sharks.
that I can
every
see.
year.
That I can definitely
the,
see.
The real statistics are showing that scuba diving is an extraordinarily safe activity.
Right.
And the rules are actually very simple to follow.
Right.
Now, when it comes to wildlife encounters, I love to try to dispel some of the myths.
Okay,
about
please do.
How dangerous these animals are.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got thousands of hours in the water, less than 5 feet away from at least 20 different species, maybe 25, 30 different species of sharks in the wild while I'm chumming to get photos.
Okay.
I still have 2 arms and 2 legs, right?
I'm beside myself because I'm having a heart attack just listening to it.
Why is the whole world so scared of sharks?
Because they have lots of rows of teeth and they're very sharp. and we've seen Jaws.
I've got a huge scar on my forearm from human teeth, but I don't have any scars from sharks' teeth.
Well, then there's that.
And that movie you just mentioned wrecked like 3 generations.
Can I tell you, I was so stupid. I think I was 8 years old, and the first time I ever saw Jaws, I was sleeping over a friend's house. We watched it in her mother's room on her bed, which happened to be a water bed. It was just terrifying. Not one of my brightest moments, but
Now,
anyway.
If that shark got inside that mattress, I'd be impressed.
Right?
That would be.
Hey, when you're a kid, you can imagine just about anything.
When do we stop imagining cool stuff?
Never,
like
I
that?
hope.
We should never.
Never. I just took my kid to Disney World, and you're reminded once again how great the imagination is.
Yeah.
You really are. You really are.
But based on these dangerous animals.
Yeah.
You know how many scuba divers have been bit by barracudas?
Yeah.
None.
None?
Barracuda, there's all these crazy old wives' tales about how dangerous barracuda are. Why do we think they're dangerous? Well, because they look dangerous.
Yeah.
They have huge teeth,
Yeah.
and they're very curious. They
Yeah.
follow us. And people always say, oh, it was chasing me. No, that's ridiculous personification.
Right.
It's not chasing you. It's curious,
Yeah.
and it's using you to hunt by.
Yeah.
It's hoping you'll scare away a fish that'll lose track of the predator, which is the barracuda.
Distract the
and
fish.
it can make a grab at the prey. But people say, oh, don't wear shiny jewelry around barracuda. Oh, come on. Where do you get this garbage from?
I don't know.
Yes. Oh, so a fishing lure is shiny, and therefore barracuda must bite all shiny things. And if you wear a shiny necklace, you're going to get your head ripped off. No,
that doesn't happen?
No, it does not.
No?
All right, look. If you liked pizza,
right,
and there was a piece of pizza dangling around the neck of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, if there were live Tyrannosaurus Rex, would you try to grab that piece of pizza?
Probably not.
Exactly. Of course you wouldn't. There's never been these attacks on humans. Now, I'm not talking about when people have been trying to hand feed a barracuda.
Right, doing something
I'm not
just
talking about
stupid.
when people are spearfishing and they grab a bonita tuna and that bonita tuna is half dead and twitching. Well, of course, sharks and barracuda and things like that are going to be attracted to the half-dead, easy prey that looks like their natural prey. Of course.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about scuba diving. But also, since you mentioned some medical things about scuba diving, it's real easy now. And we have this organization based out of Duke University called Divers Alert Network, also known as just DAN by most divers. And they are, without a doubt, the world's smartest organization based on diving medicine. So, for example, your lung. If you were curious to find out if that's a disqualifier, what they would do is they would put you through their physician's referral network to a doctor who's a cardiopulmonariologist.
Sounds perfect.
Let's just call him a lung doctor, since I don't know the sciencey word for it.
Pulmonary specialist.
Yes.
I've had to visit one or two.
A lung doctor.
Lung doctor.
But they would put you in touch with one who is also a diving specialist and can understand all of that, how it relates not only to your body, but how it relates to your body under the pressure of scuba diving and with regards to that. And that doctor can make a more intelligent assessment to find out if you should be allowed to dive or not. And anyway, that's going to be a question that's on the initial diving certification medical form is, do you have this, and this? And if you check one of those, you have to get a doctor's approval anyway. In which case, it's very smart to just contact Divers Alert Network and ask for a physician referral in your area who's familiar with how that relates to diving. Because all doctors, I hope all doctors are great at what they do, but it pays to also have one who's also a scuba diver and understands how it relates to what we do.
Absolutely.
So, and the claustrophobia thing, it's something I've never understood because it doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. But of course, a lot of people say that they're claustrophobic and don't like diving. Those like me who don't understand that, see, but it's the biggest, widest open space ever. You've got up, down, left, right.
Yes,
you can go anywhere.
Which can be equally as terrifying. Like, I know if I go out into the middle of the ocean on a boat, which I've only had the pleasure of doing once or twice, but I don't know if I could swim because I would be scared that there's something just underneath me rushing up to gobble me in one fell swoop.
Have you seen Dune, the movie Dune?
I don't think I
original?
have. I don't think I have.
Talking early 80s here, one of the best sci-fis.
No, which I'm really embarrassed because I'm a huge sci-fi junkie and I
They
can't believe I just
do-
admitted that on the podcast. But no, I've not seen Dune.
They do fear test in that movie.
Okay.
And he keeps saying fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
And I think it's so true. I mean, the things that we're scared of are exactly what we should be doing. I mean, doesn't that make us a
that's
cooler,
true. That's true.
better, awesome person?
That's true.
I mean,
We would not accomplish anywhere near what we accomplish as human beings if we let fear get in the way.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
yeah.
But I'm still not swimming in the middle of the ocean.
That's okay. You know what?
Maybe with you, I would make an exception one day.
Cool. Let's go. I don't know how the audio would hold up underwater, but
Probably not very well.
we could. There are things that we like and we don't like, and I'm probably, you're never going to catch me square dancing.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we've all got our thing, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I like to believe that we should embrace our fears.
Yeah.
Find the coolest thing that we're afraid of, whether that's skydiving or scuba diving or whatever it might be, and go do it right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. It actually, I joke, and I legit am. The thought of it makes me super nervous and sweaty, but I actually is something that I really genuinely would love to do. That skydiving, I would love to do. Certain things that
I enjoy getting taken out of my comfort zone in extraordinary ways, and it's those moments where I force myself to do it that I think I've grown the most. Like I can public speak like nobody's business because I had to force myself to do it when I was younger, and now it's like.
But
easy
you weren't
peasy.
when you first started.
Yeah, I was.
And now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Awesome.
And so, bring on the tiger sharks.
You know what's so cool about tigers? They are definitely one of the bigger species that people definitely have more fears of.
Yeah.
And they are big and they're very curious
Yeah.
and they're very strong, but they're also very intelligent. And I think they get a really bum rap for being just a dumb eating machine. They're not. They think, they feel, and they remember. I've had sharks all throughout the world who I've worked with for weeks and weeks and months and even years on end. And these sharks get to learn who I am. And in certain cases, they actually want physical touch.
Yeah.
And they don't want aggression. They're not
Yeah.
trying to take a piece out of me.
Yeah.
They come to me whether I have food for them or not. And they slow down when they get right next to me, and they want to be rubbed on. Now, this is a cool, very, very
that is
cool
really.
thing.
That's. Do you see what I think about when I think about something like that is, I imagine myself in their shoes, and
Scales.
scales, right? And you're thinking about this foreign thing that you've never seen before, as all of a sudden in your world, it's come from that surface that you've never been out of before, and here it is, and that curiosity, it overcomes a whole lot of other things that instinct, fear, whatever. And I think it's the same for us when we see an animal that we've never seen before, or something like that, we can be very, very curious too. Have you, I guess, go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah.
You just hit on, without even knowing you did it probably, you've just hit on
I totally know everything.
You've hit on my fundamental belief on how I do what I do. People ask, how do you do this? And of course, it's an impossible question to answer. You can't just answer that in a sentence. But I tell people it's 10% photographic skill, and it's 90% fish psychology. Now, fish, turtles, whales, mammals, whatever, it's all about understanding what they're thinking and then applying what I understand about them towards getting in a situation that's productive for me to get a photograph. Now, the way I've oversimplified fish psychology is they think about three things in a nutshell. Eating, not being eaten, and mating.
Right.
I mean, of course, they have a lot more going on in their brains than that.
Yeah.
But every time I approach a new animal, a new wildlife situation, I think the same thing. A, is it trying to eat me?
Right.
The answer is no. They are not trying to eat me. B, are they trying to mate with me?
You hope
There's
not.
been a few dolphin and manatee
I've
and
heard-
humpback whale
I've
situations.
heard dolphins can be particularly rapey.
It's very true. It's very uncomfortable. But you also at the same time are like, this is the coolest thing.
At least I wasn't the only one thinking it.
Am I supposed to be flattered? Sea turtles can do the same thing. I've had turtles try. Yes. So let's just say, let's put a blanket answer.
So many mental images, I can't handle
on
it.
the mating thing. So therefore, by default, what are we?
Yeah.
We are a predator in their eyes, something that's going to hurt them. So my entire school of thought when I'm trying to approach an animal underwater is how to be not a predator. How to put that animal at ease so that I can get myself in the situation that I need to get the photograph that I want. Now that's a really tricky thing, and it's a species by species case,
Yeah.
and they're always different answers. There's no one answer to that, how you
Yeah.
approach an animal like that, but it is absolute foremost on my mind the entire time I'm underwater is how to not scare the animal away and how to not be the predator, which is one of the reasons that I dive alone or with Suzanne as the only other person that's in the water with me.
So the numbers don't become intimidating.
You can't do any wildlife
Yeah.
photography in big tour groups,
Yeah, yeah.
whether it's moose or bald eagles or
Right,
fish.
right. Has there ever been a moment where you accidentally think that looking back, maybe you accidentally became a prey target and maybe they thought you were something else, like they thought you were a seal, or they thought, you know.
It is absolutely 100% my human error when I've done that. And it's happened a very small number of times. Well, hold on. Let's talk about the little teeny tiniest of them all.
Okay.
Does it count when I catch something like Giardia?
Like what?
Giardia in a freshwater lake.
What's that? I don't even know what that is.
It's a little tiny parasite.
Okay.
That gets in when you decide that you feel you need to drink glacial water in Glacier National Park, Montana. You know, dysentery.
Makes things
I've
very
caught
uncomfortable.
every tropical disease in the
God,
world.
I can only imagine.
So technically speaking, I'm a prey item.
Right.
But I think you're asking about bigger creatures.
Yeah, that's true though. But you do have to worry about the tiniest things.
Let's still
sometimes more than the
qualify.
big
Let's still go
ones.
back to little tiny medium-sized
Yeah.
things. About the size of your finger. There's a little animal called a saber-toothed blenny.
Oh, that
all over
sounds
the South Pacific.
horrifying.
Now they mimic a cleaner wrasse.
Okay.
So the fish come up to the saber-toothed blenny thinking it's a cleaner wrasse, expecting to get dead scales and parasites picked off of them, and bam! The saber-toothed blenny takes a chunk out of the fish.
Oh, yeah.
So mean. The problem is, while I'm holding still trying to take a photograph of something, my legs and ankles are easy pickings.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm diving in warm waters without a big heavy suit on, these little tiny freaking little fish come up and they take chunks out of me. And what they do is they look for any weak spots. They know what a scab is. They know what a scrape is. And they go right for it. So like when I lived in Papua New Guinea for 2 years, PNG is not a place where you want to leave open wounds. You get infections like non-stop. You can still see little dime and nickel-sized spots all over my legs and stuff. And these are, 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
And, it's not life-threatening or anything, but it is an infection that will not heal on its own without antibiotics. And those saber-toothed blennies all know right where the tender flesh is, and they go straight for it. And you can never heal when I'm in the water for 4, 5, 7, 10 hours a day.
Right.
Okay, but you asked about big predators. I digress. All the situations that I've been in have come from my own sheer stupidity. It's 100% my fault. I take full responsibility, and when it does happen, and I'm not able to answer for myself after it happens, let's hope this day doesn't come for a few. No, look, when it happens, I want everybody to be happy for me because I went doing what I loved.
Like
and you get that last damn memory card out of the camera because those last few shots are going to be so freaking cool.
Why can't I think of the guy's name?
Steve Irwin.
Thank
the crocodile hunter.
Thank you. I immediately thought of him when you were.
you know that if he's looking down now, he's saying, "Well, that's not how I expected it to happen."
But hey.
It was still a good way to go.
Crikey.
He was doing something.
He
was so doing something. And that's what I was getting at. Every situation that I've done has been human error. It's been my fault. Like, for example, I was bringing down a large pack of dead fish. I use heads and tails and the types of parts. It's what people are going to throw away anyway.
Right.
So, it's really minimal environmental impact. But I take down the heads and tails and I pack them and I put them in a certain situation where the sharks are going to smell the food. Well, there was one situation where I was bringing them down, and instead of the 1 or 2 that I expected, there were about 15 or 20. And there was this one, when you're dealing with sharks, females are bigger, slower, follow patterns, and generally speaking, much calmer.
Okay.
Males are smaller, flightier, and they're more random. They don't follow patterns. And this is a generalization, of course. There's always exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
But I had this one smaller, he was about a 5-footer, male, along with 2 of his punk mates. And this shark was relentlessly going after. And what happened is some of the food that I was bringing down inadvertently got stuck inside my BCD. Now, a BCD is the vest you wear, the buoyancy control device. It's the vest you wear while scuba diving that your tank hooks into.
Okay.
So now I've got fish trapped inside the BCD and I can't get it out. So I don't know where to reach for it. So, but I know it's in there somewhere. So I've got this one 5-foot Caribbean reef shark basically having his head pressed up against my chest, just going,
Right, trying to gnaw at it. Yeah.
And the thing is, but I'm not a very panicky type of person.
Which is definitely a good thing.
So I'm trying to think myself out of what could potentially be a catastrophic situation. And I know most important thing is just don't let my arms or legs or anything that it can get its mouth around get inside of its mouth. So I keep offering it my chest and keeping my arms out. No, by the way, most important thing, my camera was about 30 feet away. With my camera in my hand, I would have just clobbered him.
Yeah.
No problem. I've done that a million times.
Why was your camera 30 feet away?
Because I was in the process of planting the food under some rocks.
Oh, you're prepping.
Because I want the scent to get to the sharks, but I don't want them to eat it all right away.
Right.
No free lunch. They got to work for it.
They got to work for it. They got to
model
pose.
for it.
Come on.
So anyway, I was kicking and kneeing and punching and trying to grab its eyeballs and doing everything I could. And it probably only lasted about 20 seconds, but it felt like 30 minutes. And, I finally just kept, instead of punching and kicking it, which does nothing, by the way, I don't care what the old Batman show
Really?
says.
Punching it in the nose?
Oh, what a bunch of hogwash. Good luck.
I'm learning so much.
Good
I don't
luck.
know if I'll ever use it, but I'm learning so much.
Next time you're in the pool, practice your punches
It's
in the pool.
almost impossible,
And realize how totally futile this is.
Right.
And then you're going to aim for its nose? Come on.
You'll just end up in its mouth.
Exactly. It's ridiculous to think you're going to punch a shark in the nose. Come on. Anyway, but and punching is just like punching a piece of leather. It doesn't. They barely even feel it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kept throwing him to the side every time because sharks can't swim sideways or backwards. They can only go forwards and turn a little bit left and right. So I kept throwing him to the side and then offering him my chest until I could get to my camera. And then I finally got my camera and I just went, bam!
Nailed
Because
him.
that's made out of metal
Right.
and sharp angles and
Right.
things like that.
Right.
So, and then I felt so bad because
Aw.
I've had to punch a shark a few times. Many times with my camera. And it always goes,
Really?
like a puppy dog.
Really?
I feel like I've just kicked
Wait,
a puppy.
they really make that sound?
No,
I was gonna say.
They don't make any sounds. They don't make any sounds. But you can just like see it in their body language.
Yeah.
I feel like I just I don't know, it feels like I smacked
Kicked
a
a dog,
baby
yeah,
or
aw.
something. I feel so terrible. And then I want to go apologize and love on it a little more and kiss them. But that's also ill-advised.
You really have an affection for them, then. huh?
Absolutely. They're
Yeah.
so special to me.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want to do with the photos is show the rest of the world how awesome they really are. I've got photos of open mouth sharks trying to chew on the camera because I have fish guts smeared on the camera.
Right.
I've got sharks in threatening poses. I've got all this. I don't want to show people those photos. I want to show people photos when they're looking beautiful and when they're looking majestic and awesome, because that's what the world needs right now.
Yeah.
With the fact that we've wiped out 90 some odd % of sharks in the past 20, 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, these guys have been on Earth for 400 million years.
Yeah, since dinosaurs, right?
And most species of them are on the brink of extinction currently. The brink. I mean, our kids' generation might grow up only knowing sharks from history books.
I remember when I was a kid, I saw a video, and it still sticks with me to this day, of, I think it was a Japanese fishing boat. And they were pulling sharks on it.
This is going to make me cry.
I'm sorry. They were pulling sharks on it, cutting their fins off, and then dumping them back in the ocean still alive. And I was horrified because I'm thinking what the shark just went through. It had its, limbs essentially cut off.
Yep.
That pain, and then being thrown back into the ocean, unable to control anything about it, and now it's become chum.
Yes.
And that thought it still sticks with me. I can't imagine doing something like that to an animal.
It's like a scene out of the horror movie Saw.
Yeah.
Like where we do horrible things and then leave people to die. I mean,
Just walk away.
It's the
Like
worst
they're nothing.
possible death.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of people out there that, for whatever reason, thinking that, fish don't have feelings, they can't feel pain. I don't understand why people think that,
Right.
but they have nerves just like we do.
Right, totally.
And they do feel pain.
Totally.
And, aside from the fact that it's just a horrific, inhumane thing to do, the importance of these sharks as the apex predator of their ecosystem can't be overstated enough. I mean, we have to understand that by taking these animals out of the ocean, we are upsetting the balance
Big
in
time.
the ocean.
Big time.
And they prey on the weak and the starving fish. They keep the gene pool healthy. They do so many other important things for the ocean's ecosystems. And by removing them from the ocean, well, I can guarantee you this, 20 years from now, our kids' generation are going to be learning about why the ocean is in such a horrible shape. Because right now, it feels almost like the hippie save the world type thing to say, but I'm sorry, there's science behind this to prove
reality.
what we're saying is real, but no one wants to hear the warning signs because that's not sexy.
Right.
What's sexy is, shark attacks and Shark Week and top 10 most dangerous beaches.
Right.
What's unsexy is a scientist up on a podium trying to explain what's happening, and do I dare call myself like an eco crusader?
Sounds like
in
it.
my heart I am, but nobody
think
wants
it's
to
fair to say
listen
you're
to
doing
people
your
like
part.
me. I'm trying so hard,
Yeah.
but yeah, to watch this. The shark fin soup trade is what's behind a lot of this problems, and that is primarily confined to the Southeast Asia region, and with their huge boom in economic growth over the past several decades, what it's meant is a lot more people have been brought into the middle class to where they can afford shark
This
fin
delicacy,
soup,
as they
which
call it,
is
yeah.
a quite expensive meal.
Yeah.
Now, the best argument against it for the people who don't want to see it as an ecological issue, but want to see it from a more human-based issue, is the fact that we have proven time and time again that a live shark is worth financially so much more to tourism than a dead shark. Because that dead shark has a cost that's applied to a plate of food or a bowl of food in shark fin soup.
Yeah.
And a live shark gets equated to tourism because you have a growing number of idiots like me who will pay big money to go swimming with these sharks. And I do. If you took a look at my travel budget for a year, you'll see that like 40% of my income goes back in towards travel budget.
Yeah.
And that's just a ridiculous percentage. I put a lot of money back into the Bahamas shark tourism, Florida's shark tourism. Do you know that we have a huge population of sharks right here?
Kind of have heard that, yeah.
And it's so awesome.
Yeah.
You can get face to face with these sharks right off Jupiter, West Palm Beach area, and other areas of Florida. And you can get an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience down at depth with these sharks. And I put a lot of my personal money into supporting that shark tourism.
You know what? I think you need to be like a front face for Florida Tourism Board or something because
nobody wants to see this face.
No, stop it! I mean, like your enthusiasm is infectious. It really is.
I know we're only on audio here, but I'm a bald dude with a goatee. I've got the convict look going on. We need Suzanne or
Hey,
someone
man,
with
that's
a
super sexy.
face for TV. I've got the face for radio.
Stop it. There's a reason I do a podcast. I'm just kidding. No. So you've traveled, I mean, a lot of countries. I think 40 different countries that you've been able to do.
My underwater
photography.
portfolio is about 40. If you include the above water countries, for whatever reason, we're probably over 50.
So my question is, which have you seen certain countries just really be awful when it comes to their lack of appreciation and understanding for the value, the intrinsic earthly value of these animals?
Absolutely. It's kind of hard to qualify, though, because you have a country, say, United States, for example. We call ourselves a first world country. We call ourselves civilized people. And we all know we've got problems.
There's a lot of stuff that puts that into question.
Bingo. Sorry, not the game of bingo. That's a fine game.
That's a great game. Nothing wrong with bingo.
But as a first world country, shouldn't we know better?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we know better than to do a lot of the things that we do?
You know what? We do. I think it's more of a question about shouldn't we do better. I think we do know better.
Well, Suzanne always uses that quote, when you know better, you should do better. And, like, for example, it's really, really, really hard to recycle in some parts of America. Why? That
Right.
doesn't make any... That makes about as much sense as a Wookiee living on the planet Mutavendor with a bunch of Ewoks. Sorry, South Park quote.
Love it.
But, you know, we have these easy ways. I personally am against a few things that the majority of the world are for when it comes to environmental issues.
Okay.
And one of which is the captive marine mammals.
Okay.
Now,
So
we have
SeaWorld is not
not
something
my
that you...
friend. Now, look, I grew up as a little kid, and I was going to SeaWorld thinking it was the most amazing thing ever.
Because you're a little kid.
Could it even be part of the inspiration that drove me to who I am today?
Probably, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. One of the most embarrassing things of my entire life is that when I was in 7th grade on a field trip from my school, when I was growing up in Atlanta, we did a SeaWorld thing. I purchased a shark jaw from the SeaWorld gift shop. And to this day, I still have that jaw. And I keep it to remind me that back then I didn't know better.
Ignorance is bliss.
That shark was caught
Yeah.
and killed
Yeah.
specifically to create a jaw that some tourist would buy.
In a gift shop.
And that was me.
Yeah,
I did that.
yeah.
And I didn't know any better. But
Yeah.
now I do. And now I keep that as a reminder about what a stupid choice I made back then.
And now it's contributed to this mission that you're on, which is doing a
Yeah.
lot of good. It's doing a lot of good.
But you know, you take these awesome documentary movies like The Cove and
Mm-hmm.
Blackfish. Blackfish was a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah.
Cove will make you cry even
I've
more.
never heard of Cove.
Oh, it's frightening. It's about mostly based on the dolphins in
Okay.
a certain area where most of the world's dolphins are caught.
Is that where Hayden Panettiere? I think she went on this trip. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Hayden? Okay.
the actress,
she
yeah.
went on a trip to basically stop these hunting boats, I guess,
That sounds like it.
killing all these dolphins in this cove. It might be
The
the same.
Cove.
Yeah, it's probably what you're talking.
And it still goes on today.
Yeah.
The guys who have filmed the documentaries have all been banned from Japan. They
Yeah.
won't let them in the country.
Yeah.
This is the Japanese government
Yeah.
stopping filmmakers from
Yeah.
getting in to expose the truth.
Yeah.
You know, the new documentary called Racing Extinction. Phenomenal, even though I haven't seen it yet because I wasn't able to watch it. I've got to be able to watch this. But I supported that movie from the moment they started creating it. But yeah, those 3 movies have opened up the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah.
The problem is the only people who are going to watch those movies
Or
are
the
people who already
already
think this
yeah.
stuff.
Or at least are inclined to be open-minded about it. There's some people who just, they want the visors on forever. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, I just read a headline this week about Tillicum. And about how his health is failing, and you know, he's going to be passing soon, I guess. And you know, I thought back to the video of him pulling that woman, the trainer, underwater by her ponytail.
Yeah.
And my reaction when I first saw that video was, are you surprised? Are you shocked? Like, whether it was an act of play or an act of aggression, that whale is not where he's supposed to be.
Yeah. And he doesn't understand why he's where he's not supposed to
Right.
be. A human in solitary confinement
Right.
understands
Right.
probably what they did wrong.
Right.
You know, whether remorseful or not.
Right.
But they're there for a reason.
Right.
A whale doesn't understand why
No.
it was ripped apart from its family.
Right.
Their family is everything
Can
to
I
these
tell you,
whales.
that is one of the most heartbreaking sides of this when it comes to, you know, whales, dolphins, gorillas. You know, there's certain
Primates definitely fall in this category.
you
Definitely.
know, that it's heartbreaking because you know they have families. Elephants. Oh my
Yes.
God! There's this video or a story I heard a long time ago of this elephant that was captured and brought into someplace, and it saw another elephant there, and they immediately went toward each other and were just all over each other weeping. And it took people a while to look into the background and figure out that they were of the same herd, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And so they had known each other, but they probably hadn't seen each other in like 10 years or something. But that doesn't go away, that bond, that recognition. It's their family.
Absolutely.
You know, dolphins, they're families. And so when you think about something being ripped from, I mean, I can't help, as I'm a mother, you know, what I would feel like if all of a sudden someone came and threw a net around me and dragged me away, and I was powerless.
See, I thought you were going to say if they were dragged around your child and your child was taken away.
Oh,
That's
all
one
hell
way to
would
think
break
about
loose.
it.
Yeah, but all hell would break loose.
And they do. They fight
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
In Blackfish, they show an amazing footage of the big males from the group trying to lead all the whale hunters away from the mothers and calves.
Wow.
And if we weren't equipped with planes,
Right.
and
All of our
cognitive thinking
equipment
abilities
and
and
everything
technology,
we have. Yeah.
we would have fallen
The game
for the
is
trick.
nowhere near fair. That's
Not
the
a
thing.
level playing
It's
field.
nowhere near. You think about hunting in the natural
Oh, you got my next
world.
subject.
You think about hunting in the natural world. Then I'm going to start with hunting between animals, like
Yeah.
in nature. That's the playing field that's designed by nature. Everybody has their strengths, their weaknesses, their camouflage, their this, their that helps them, and ultimately they're predators. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but there's a balance there. When it comes to us walking into a forest with a gun, with all kinds of radar on it, with hideaways that we can sneak up into, and we have all this equipment and all this technology, and we have infrared this and whatever, that is not fair. An animal staring at you, and you're staring down a barrel of a gun, and you shoot it. That animal, without that gun, good luck, right?
Exactly.
Want to make it fair? Put your gun down and see what happens. And it drives me,
Have we talked about this already?
No.
It seems like you're taking the words out of my mouth. This is great.
this podcast is meant to be.
So the way I think about it is, I'm going to bring it back to the ocean, because that's just my
Totally.
world that I
No,
live
please
in.
do.
So the second thing, so the first thing that I like mentioning is, my stance on captive marine mammals. The second thing I like to mention is I do tend to stand up against fishing tournaments. Now, I don't have any problem with people catching a fish to eat a fish. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
And the same goes for land-based hunting. If you were going to shoot a deer and eat a deer, I am not against that
Make
at all.
use of everything, and
Eat it.
that's totally okay with me too. I
But
get
if
it.
you're doing it to mount a rhinoceros horn on
Right,
the wall,
right.
I have one thing to say
like
to you.
that dentist.
Yes.
Like that dentist who, he is a lucky man that he figured out how to hide and get away from
Yeah.
the world, because wow.
If you're the type of person who either wants to mount a rhino horn on your wall or catch the biggest shark to hang that shark taxidermy on your wall, I have one thing to say. If you want real sport, you step into the ring with me for 3 minutes. I'll show you sport. For what you're doing with fish finders and all these equipment that's on your boat, and you think you're a tough
I don't
man.
understand where the pride comes from. I really don't, because you're basically making it as easy for yourself as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Where does the pride come from with
Now,
that?
keep in mind, we are talking to, I assume the majority of your audience would be Florida-based,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
And here we are in probably the fishing capital of Florida. And
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people that fundamentally disagree with what I'm saying here. I'm not going to put you in the mix of this. You can speak for yourself. But
Screw 'em. No, I'm just kidding.
this is the best podcast ever. And it's fine. I know I'm not going to change anyone's mind.
Yeah.
But what I can do is change your kids' minds.
Yeah.
So that the next generation is smarter than you.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy doing, by going into schools and talking to schools about what's going on and how this shark fishing tournament that just happened off the Jupiter coast again, and what its implications are going to be.
So now some people would argue that, and I'll immediately insert my counter argument, but some people would argue that there's an overpopulation of XYZ species, and so there's a purpose for this tournament for, pythons. They're not native to this area, so let's go python hunting. So the counter argument would be, it's not their fault. We're the ones who put them there.
The invasive species. you're
Right.
referring to, yeah.
We're the ones who, or in turn, someone, even if a species is native here, if they're overpopulated, we're the ones who got rid of their
Its
predator.
predator.
Right. So we're the ones who are causing all of these imbalances, and we're thinking of the most sorry, but inhumane and disgusting ways of handling those issues. So point counterpoint.
I don't need to say anything else. You've said everything I need to say. No, you're right. We do have a couple invasive species problems, and like the Burmese pythons throughout the Everglades. But again, bringing it back to the ocean world, what most Floridians are familiar with is the lionfish invasive species. Now, lots of theories as to how it all got started, but you know what? Who cares? At this point, it is a problem, and no lionfish derby or anything like that is going to do away with this problem.
Right.
Now,
nature is the only thing that can really,
since there's all matters of gray
things.
and different opinions as to what's right and what's wrong, you know, would it be hypocritical for me to say that I think having a lionfish derby is actually a fine thing? Because you know what happens? People spear those lionfish. They're not hurting any other species out there. And in the vast majority of cases, they're eating the lionfish.
They are.
And they are delicious. I mean, like I said, I don't really even eat seafood, but I'll eat lionfish.
Yeah.
Because A, there's no way to overfish them because you can't catch them in big gill nets and long line nets, which destroy our ecosystems.
Okay, that's
You
good
can only catch lionfish by single spear. Now you kill
and there's
one
then
fish.
and that I can say there's sport there. There's skill and
Yeah, it's still pretty easy.
Yeah, but there's.
I mean, you take a little Hawaiian sling or a little trident spear, and it's got an elastic band around your elbow, and boom, it just shoots right into them. And then what I like to encourage people to do is once they've done that, they should also have a pair of, you call them C-snips or stainless steel surgical scissors. And the humane thing to do would then be to immediately make an incision right behind its head and sever its spinal cord.
So it no longer.
So there's no. I mean, look, it's not the lionfish's fault that it's there, like you just said. There's no need to cause suffering. So if we're going to kill something, you might as well put it out of its misery as quickly as possible.
Right.
And you know, and then you cut the spines off so you don't accidentally envenomate yourself with its venomous spines.
Would that be good?
And then you stick it in a bag, and I'll tell you, these lionfish are the best seafood anyone will ever eat. They are phenomenal. There's even a book out there called The Lionfish Cookbook, written by scuba diver / chef.
Okay, so I know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm getting some lionfish.
And you can do it while just snorkeling too. A lot of these lionfish are all over the rock jetties. Like at Jupiter Inlet. And, you know, you can find them in any rock jetty or piling or any shipwreck or pretty much any reef nowadays in Florida.
So when you go out on your photography ventures, do you pre-plan what you? Can you even pre-plan what you're going to capture? Yeah,
absolutely. The way I go out on every single trip is I have a photograph pre-visualized in my mind. Now, if it's a destination photograph, like I've got a lot of shots of the Midwest, Aspen, the Maroon Bells.
The Midwest?
Yeah, a lot of stuff from Glacier National Park. I spent all of October in Glacier. Now, I've pre-visualized these locations. I do Google image search for all these amazing locations, and then I find out if there's a body of water in front of them.
Gotcha.
And then I'll do split shots in front of them. So all I'm trying to do is set out to use the camera to create what's already in my mind. Now, if I'm going in the ocean, like for example, I'm going to take a trip to Hawaii in December, and I'm going to be on what's called a live-aboard scuba boat, which basically means you sleep and eat and dive off of that boat for the whole week.
Wow.
Now that, I'm not controlling the itinerary. So I will have my Google image search done, but I'll be looking for mostly underwater things, and I'll see what animals live in what particular regions of that Kona, Hawaii region, and I am still going to have it pre-visualized, but at the same time, over the years since my career has evolved, I used to shoot more for magazines and tourism and trying to catch fish portraits. Now, I make my entire living and find my passion with, fortunately, same thing, as of creating beauty out of these things. I pre-visualize my photos as 15-foot wide pieces of art that are going to be printed enormously.
Wow.
So whereas before I might have taken a photo of a turtle this way, now I'm pre-visualizing a photo of a turtle that way. And how do I describe what this and that are? I can't. It's visual. It's not verbal. But you know, I pay attention to the backgrounds. I pay attention to where the turtle is in the scene of the photograph. things like that. Whereas before, I used to be more interested in just getting as close as possible and getting the turtle to look right into the lens.
Right.
Now I'm trying to create a piece of art
A whole
out of that
image.
turtle.
Yeah.
And that incorporates the background, the mood, the light rays coming down through the surface. So it's very pre-visualized.
Well, that's what I think when I saw your booth and I went in there, and I think one of the things I said to you was that it really feels like you're transported into that scene for a moment. And so like it sounds exactly what your goal is. Like you want a scene essentially that lives forever.
And I do. I've got that whole line of photos that I call the Fish Faces collection, which are animal portraits. And then all of my other shots that I'm really kind of the most passionate about are the limited edition scenic type shots. And they capture an entire oceanscape with an animal, perhaps, but usually, or sometimes, it's just a scene of an ocean.
Like, is it called Candy Shop or
Candyland.
Candyland, yeah.
Candy Shop is good though.
Oh, okay.
But Candyland, you're coming up with titles for the next shots already.
Hey!
But yeah, Candyland.
No charge.
Thank you. It's a scene. It's probably got 50 different species in it.
Yeah.
Soft corals, loud colors, lots of reds, oranges, yellows.
Yeah.
And it's got about maybe 15 different species of fish in it as well, all up in the column. But the focus isn't on anything. The focus is just on it being a scene. And that type of shot I consider more akin to a landscape photographer's work, just done underwater.
Well, I think is so nice about something like that is, so we landlubbers, we might, be standing with our feet in the sand looking out at the ocean, and all we see is water, some waves and ripples. But we can't imagine, other than what we've seen on TV or what have you, just the depth of how beautiful the scenes really, there's so much life down there that's just extraordinary. And so, you allow us to see that, and it's remarkable. It really, they're like little cities and little, there's just so much going on, little communities down there, and that interact with each other. It's really spectacular what you're able to give us to see.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that, as a scuba diver, particularly newer scuba divers need to learn very quickly, is the slower you go, the more you see. Think about it like a nature walk through a forest, which more people can relate to than what I do. If you follow the boardwalk and you just stay on the path and you go at a regular walking pace.
God forbid you have your iPhone in your hand.
Yes. How many bald eagles are you going to see? How many beautiful little spiders catching their prey are you going to see? How many, little things here and there? How many certain species of rare flower are you going to see?
Yeah.
Like none.
Yeah.
But if you just sit down on one section of that boardwalk and you sit on the same log for 3 hours, and maybe you flip over a few rocks, or flip over a dead log, or look up into the tree a little bit to see where the nest is. Now you're going to see some amazing things.
True.
And I fundamentally believe that part of the fish psychology of finding cool things to photograph, not the big stuff like whales, that kind of jumps out at you, but the cool little hidden creatures on Earth. It's an Easter egg hunt sometimes.
Yeah.
And here locally in Florida, we've got the Easter egg hunt of all dive sites.
Coral reefs?
Well, actually, one in specific. It used to be like the best kept secret, but now everybody knows in the diving world. Singer Island off West Palm Beach, Blue Heron Bridge. Under Blue Heron Bridge is the ultimate Easter egg hunt dive on Earth.
Really?
Yeah, you can't get this kind of species diversity outside of Indonesia. It's amazing.
No
and
kidding.
divers now flock to Blue Heron Bridge from all over the world. But it's not a scuba dive you should do in your first 100 dives, because your eyes just aren't slowed down and tuned in enough quite yet. You're going to dive it and you're going to see, oh, this sucks. It's just a bunch of sand and rocks and nothing. But those with lots of experience, those with lots of patience and the ability to go slow will see all the creatures that they've always wanted to see but have never been able to find out on the coral reefs. It's a cool little niche ecosystem. And divers have gone a long ways towards petitioning the government to protect that one spot. And actually, we've gotten really good success in making it making it a very, very diveable and no touch, no take zone. No aquarium collecting there, which is what a lot of people used to do back in the 80s and 90s. All the aquarium collectors were there because the rarest, coolest species were all there. And the only challenge we've got with it now is the Lake Okeechobee outflow, which is
that
kind
like
of
sewer?
strangling.
It's like not sewer. Is it just like polluted kind of, or is
Well,
it?
unfortunately, what we have here is a little bit of short-sightedness. And again, not to get too political on things, but
It's voting day.
Probably the single largest, most timely issue that we have right now is over the past few weeks, if you live on the coast, you've seen huge plumes of brown-green water coming out.
Oh.
Now, by Florida law, again, not to get too political here, because it's normally not my thing, but we allow and encourage Big Sugar and Big Orange, these big lobbyist-controlled entities, to pump all of their used fertilizer water and all their pesticide water directly back into Lake Okeechobee,
can't be good.
among other areas. And it's extremely
That can't be
polluting.
good.
It's terrible. And over the past couple weeks, this whole winter, we've had heavy rainfall, big storms, which has been kind of cool for some things. It makes for great landscape and cloud photos, great sunrises this winter. But the problem is it's raised the lake levels a little bit too much, and they've had to pump out a lot of that water. Whereas it's normally done in a somewhat more controlled manner, they've had to just pump it all out. And it's been wiping our estuaries and wiping our brackish water areas and mangrove areas and coastal reefs clean of life.
I can only imagine.
So it's a big
Because
problem.
it's literally chemicals that are designed to kill.
Yes, it's pesticides and fertilizers and stuff. So, and it's also causing massive algae blooms and massive
I have heard of that,
jellyfish larvae blooms. Jellyfish larvae, a lot of them feed off phosphates and silicates and nitrates, all the things that are found in that industrial crop runoff.
Yeah.
So,
Again, causing that imbalance that we're so good at causing.
yes, we are.
I would be remiss of doing this podcast without asking about two things in your life:
Shoot.
the pig and the elephant.
Okay. Two of the photos that get the most attention in my portfolio. Where shall we start? Let's start with the pig.
All right.
It's become a little bit more well-known now, I think, especially in South Florida, since we have such easy access to the Bahamas, and the big billboards up on Highway 95 that said, Bahamas tourism, swimming pigs. And so, yeah, a couple years back, I went over to this island of the swimming pigs, which is now officially known as Pig Island.
Oh.
And I photographed these amazing pigs that have basically no food on their island, and they rely 100% on what humans throw to them as scraps.
Wow.
And you can swim with these pigs.
Oh my
So what I
God.
did is I captured probably 5 or 6 days worth of photos of these pigs. And the ones that I'm the happiest with are the split shots, which to an underwater photographer means half in, half out of the water. And so their nose still carries all the sand from when they're up on the beach before they get all
so
the way
cute.
in, but their legs are all the way under. And I have photos of them that are deeper and swimming. But yeah, I fed them apples. Actually, I started with carrots, but carrots sink and pigs float. So that didn't work out too
very well.
So then I started working with apples.
Yeah.
And yeah, capturing them. I love to think of... there comes a divergence in an artist's career when you want to think of your work as somewhat sophisticated and elegant, but having a huge pig looking at the camera's lens is kind of the polar opposite of that. And I think it's just to make people smile and laugh.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have answered their own question of, do I want art on my wall that is beautiful and elegant? Or do I need an extra smile every single day? And if I'm still looking at these photos 4 or 5 years after I took them, and I'm still smiling every day, then I bet anybody else would too.
Absolutely.
And it's made, they're generally done a little bit smaller, printed smaller with the pigs, but I've had several clients do them upwards of 6,
Wow.
7 feet. And these are some big pigs right in the middle of luxury $5 million condos. I mean, I think it's hilarious
That's
and totally
awesome.
appropriate.
That's totally awesome.
So the elephant is a very different story. Years back, I heard a friend of a friend who said that there was an elephant that swims in the ocean. And I said, no, that is not true. Elephants swim every day, but they swim in mud and they swim in rivers. So this elephant supposedly swam in the ocean. And I didn't believe it. So I researched the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And finally I found this one Swiss kid's travel blog written in French, ran it through babblefish.com, and in his thing, he talks about the ocean swimming elephant, singular.
Yeah.
And he listed the GPS coordinates on his blog,
No
and he
kidding.
actually showed an above water photo of an elephant eyeball deep in ocean water.
No kidding.
So I was like,
There
book
it is.
And sure enough, nobody understands why he does what he does, but like all Indian elephants, he was a worker for 48 years, and then they retired him, so he was pushing down trees and hauling them off to the logging camp, long, hard labor, and it wasn't until he retired that he started walking down the beach into the ocean.
Oh, this is such like a romantic kind
It
of story.
really is. It's super special. And so I have these amazing photos of Rajan the elephant swimming in this relatively clear water in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
And it's a white sand beach, and some of my photos show the forest behind him, and some of them just show him completely submerged underwater. But you can tell, and I titled one of the photos Jumping for Joy, because it looks like he's just leaping off the ocean floor.
Yeah.
What he's really doing is he's just getting his trunk up to take a breath out of his trunk.
Right.
And he can hold his breath for, 30, 45 seconds at a time, and
Yeah.
walks around the seafloor a little bit. And it makes me so happy to look at that photo, knowing that in his retirement, he's doing what he wants to do. And again, nobody understands why he does this. And I just don't think he cares if we understand. And some things are cooler in life just not understanding.
You know what? I think I'd understand. I understand. That's such a sweet story, and I'll look at those pictures with a much better appreciation now.
Yeah.
Having known that. So, is there anything else you want to cover before we say goodbye? Is there? Do you want to tell us everyone how to find you and find your work?
Well, sure, yeah. Everything from my website to all social media is Goog Underwater, G-U-G Underwater.
Not Gug, as I accidentally approached
Hey,
him and
no.
called him the first time I met him.
Everybody says Gug, that's fine. So yeah, I try to keep Instagram and Facebook real up to date.
Can I go for something here?
Shoot,
Guglielmo?
that is my full last
Is that?
name.
Did I actually
but
pronounce it right though?
Guglielmo.
Darn it! I didn't.
No.
Darn it.
With the hands.
Oh, with the hands.
Sicilian.
I missed the
But
hands.
yeah, I've officially truncated it down to just
I don't
Goog.
blame you.
Hey, look, nobody ever called me Chris anyway. Everybody called me Goog from the time I was in elementary school. All
Yeah.
my friends call me Goog.
Well, see, my last name is Lagagner, which is always tricky for people, especially the way it's spelled. I don't think I could have really gotten away with being called Leg my whole life, so Goog works for you, though. Which has been weird.
So yeah, website and social media is all Goog Underwater. And then my real showroom gallery is in Fort Lauderdale's Galleria Mall. And as we're doing this podcast, we are standing in a 6,400 square foot showroom right in front of Neiman Marcus. So I am thrilled to have this location. It's only due to the support of my clients that have appreciated the photos as art over the years.
Yeah.
And they really like to customize each and every piece. We have smaller gift size pieces, if you were, that are appropriate for your bathroom and for the kids' room and for the guest room.
And
But
I
we
know you offer
specialize-
different kinds of mediums, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We specialize in huge centerpiece artwork. A lot of people don't even know these photos are photos. They think they're paintings. So when I hate to use the word competition because it's not competition, but when I'm competing for a client's wall space with another artist, I'm not competing against wildlife photographers. I'm competing against oil painters, and abstract acrylic painters and things. The same type of clients who would like that would really appreciate some of my big scenics. And I enjoy it, and there is no greater compliment to my life's work than to see it hanging huge on somebody's wall as a centerpiece they're going to be looking at every day.
Yeah.
And it shows their appreciation for the ocean. It just makes me happy and satisfied, and it's what I hope I keep doing until the very end, which, when it happens by that tiger shark, that's how it's supposed to go. But until that time, I'm going to keep taking new fishy photos and hoping people still want them for their walls.
Well, I thank you so much for giving us a renewed appreciation for the oceans that are all around us. So thank you so much. Do you want to sign off the podcast? It's super easy. Everyone gets nervous when I ask. You'll just say, this has been Goog with Curve the Cube.
And this has been Goog with Curve the Cube.
Yay! High five! Good job. That was awesome. Yay! You were great.
I missed your hand on the high
That's
five.
okay. No one knows.
We got pinkies.
That's why I don't. That's why it's just audio.
You have successfully curved the cube.